Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about the lockdown situations surrounding this terrible crisis that is plaguing our country, and the world for that matter, but today we're going to focus more on the United States. There's been a few locations that have been protesting these extensive lockdowns, and one in particular has had enough of this whole we can't go anywhere and do anything situation. I'm of course talking about Michigan, as the title of this video suggests, and there they've had some very upset people voicing their opinions and going out and protesting this whole lockdown situation very vehemently. You see, they're sick of the lockdowns. They've been locked down really bad by their governor named Whitmer, who's been getting a lot of bad press lately, thinking they're saying he's some kind of authoritarian, overstepping, taking over too much control, making people stay home when they don't need to. And I think this could possibly be an issue because this comes back to the whole theory that a lot of liberals want to lock down the country and shut down the economy and crash everything as hard as possible before we get to the November election. This, of course, is an attempt to take down Donald Trump, who is running for re-election in November, and he has a really good shot of winning this, much better than last season when he had to go against Hillary Clinton. And he was a long shot back then, but right now he's not the underdog anymore. He's an incumbent president, and he has a terrible person to run against whose name is Joe Biden, of course, and Trump is the favorite. So that's why liberals are pulling out all the stops to try and end this thing, make this disaster even worse than it needs to be. Now, that's besides the point. We need to focus more on Michigan because today's story, we've got a lot of talk about these lockdowns, and we've got a thread coming from the Twitter handle Benny, who's talking about how there were protests there. We've got video, we've got evidence, we've got all kinds of stuff going on. So it's very interesting. I want to jump right into it. The first tweet in this thread says, "I'm in Lansing, Michigan, where thousands of patriots have shown up in the cold and rain to defy stay-at-home orders and protest the totalitarian lockdown by Governor Whitmer. 1.5 million Michigan residents have lost their jobs on Whitmer's orders. Whitmer is on Biden's VP list." Thread. Okay, so we're already seeing where this is going. As I mentioned, this is a very political thing at this point, especially in regions like Michigan, which have had very few cases recently. Now, I don't want to misspeak. I know they've had some troubles with the disease as well, but Michigan is one of the better places that have treated it and had good success avoiding getting a lot of deaths from the virus. Now, that's why people obviously want to reopen. They don't need to stay locked down. We could do this on a state-by-state basis. Obviously, America is still suffering, and there's still regions that have a lot of virus problems like New York City, LA, California. More populated places are very, very badly about this. Actually, California isn't that bad, but it is one of the most populous states, so it had a lot of issues. New York City is the worst one right now, and in the middle of that is Michigan, pretty much dead in the middle, and they haven't had that big of a problem. So continuing this shutdown definitely suggests there's some ulterior motives. And as this tweet directly states, this governor is on Biden's VP list, so he's certainly trying to help that guy win the election. Now, this video, if you want to check this out, it has a few seconds of, people at the protest, people out there with signs, American flags, obviously protesting the social distancing by not social distancing. You can see a lot of people close together. That could be considered a health problem. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying we should be all getting together and possibly spreading the disease, but at the same time, this is the people's rights. We live in America. It's your freedom, and there's a lot of good arguments saying that these lockdowns are overstepping government rules and they're trying to do other more nefarious things like rig elections. So if people do want to go out this bad and these are the people in that state, that's their right. And if you don't want to go along with that, you just stay home. If you need to stay home longer, if you feel safer, that's cool too. No one's telling anyone they have to go out and see a lot of people and interact. The whole point is we should have the freedom to choose. Now, I understand government mandated lockdowns are necessary, especially in the middle of a crisis, at the beginning of a crisis, but since we are past the curve, since we've flattened, and since we've kind of locked down for a long time already, considering reopening is a must, and I can see why these people in Michigan are getting upset. Let's move on to the next tweet. Here's a cool sign. It says, "Witchmer beware," kind of a joke. It looks like those are the legs from the Wizard of Oz witch, the one that the house lands on. The next one says, "Military veteran wife and her husband who served for 2 decades say, 'We did not sign up to serve a socialist country. This is not America. This is not what we fought for.'" Well put right there. Let's see what her sign says. It says, what does it say? "Set us free from tyranny." You guys can't quite see all that, but yeah, it's a good sign. It's got a bridge. I like it. Steady train of vehicles have been rolling around the Michigan Capitol, honking loudly and waving American flags for 3 hours. Sounding patriotic, I love it. The legislature is meeting today to decide how long the lockdown will continue. They want to be heard. Okay, so this is a good reason to have a sort of protest and demonstration. They're outside of a vote. This is the motivation behind this. There's a vote going on whether to extend things. People in the state are showing their support. We've got a lot of cars here, as you can see in that video. There's the protesters again. There's the freedom sign, and it's a good day to be American. This is our right to protest. Whether or not you fall on a certain side of this, maybe you want to be locked down more. Maybe you're in Michigan watching right now, and you have a right to have a side on both of these. I think you could tell where I'm leaning. I'm not one to support these liberal governors locking down and taking away people's freedom. But at the same time, you can understand the other argument too. I don't want to sound like I'm fence sitting here, because I just want to be careful since there is a virus involved. People could get sick, but at the same time, let's keep our freedoms and let's open up when we can. Now, the next tweet here says they took our jobs, and this is a sign obviously inspired by South Park. Great reference right there. Gotta love your South Park references, but I think you need to say that a bit differently. If you're on the South Park show, if you're a fan like us, we've covered the show for years. Great show, by the way. And we remember that episode that goes, "They took our jobs," and it was like the lower level blue collar workers in South Park got upset one episode. We actually covered this in a video, and basically there was a older episode where a lot of immigrants were coming in, taking the blue collars jobs, and then this quote came from it, and it's still a quote we say to this day. I think that episode's multiple years old right now, but "they took our jobs" is still a great quote. And good to see the people in Michigan supporting a great show like South Park. Now, here's a funny one. I remember seeing this poster before. "Your body, my choice." And then you got a little poster here of Bill Gates. Someone says, "Say no to Bill Gates." And it's got this creepy picture of him with the shot. I love that because Bill Gates has been coming up to the front here. He's been trying to speak out about this virus stuff. He actually had spoken about it before. Some of his previous speeches and TED Talks had come up about him talking about how a virus would be the next big bad situation in the world. Now, he's been proven right in a way, but that doesn't mean we go all the way down his crazy plot. He has this whole vaccination thing he's trying to come up with, and he wants to give it to the whole world, but you got to sign away your rights to sue him, which suggests there could be something that goes wrong with that. Now, not to be like some kind of anti-vax or anything, but it's definitely shady coming from Bill Gates, who is not a scientist, not a doctor. He's just some rich guy who made up a computer program many years ago. So I'm not sure what he has to do with this. I guess he's expanding his horizons, but it seems a little creepy since this guy already owns Windows. He's already on the operating system for like the majority of computers across the world, and now he wants to own this vaccine that everyone's going to take too. Like, what is he doing with that vaccine? I don't want to get full tinfoil hat or anything, but it's like, it just, look at the creepy guy. In this, you could think something like, oh, he's going to put a microchip in you or something. I know that's not going to happen, but I can see why people are hesitant to trust Bill Gates. Next picture, we got the stage where a host of speakers will be addressing the crowd. Every job is essential. I like this argument because it shows the part of the essential jobs thing where it's like, oh, we got to close down these places, but these places get to stay open. That makes sense on the surface. Like, essential jobs can be considered cops, firefighters, hospital workers, some food places, other things like that. But when you consider the way liberals have run this thing, like, for example, they consider Planned Parenthood to be essential, and they consider some of these other things to be non-essential, and that's where the debate rises. And I think it makes sense to say every job is essential in a way because, yeah, every job provides food for a certain family. So if you're feeding your family based on this job, even if it's at, say, a Taco Bell, or you're working at a paper company or something seemingly unessential, but it's essential to you. You need to make money. You need to feed your family. So I think people with the guts and the strength and the safety precautions that want to get back to work should be able to. My rights don't end where your fear starts. That's a good thought on things, saying how if some people are scared, that doesn't mean other people should have to lose their rights. Not everyone should have to go along with that. That goes back to the thing where I was saying self-determinism. You should be able to decide your own actions. The government shouldn't be forcing us to do too many things. Now, here's another video with some cool stuff. It's got waving the flags. I love America, freedom. This is a very patriotic, very positive movement that I see. I'm seeing a lot of good-looking people, not necessarily not saying they're attractive. I can't even tell by this video. I'm saying they're good-looking Americans, patriotic, supporting our country, doing so in a pretty respectful way as far as I can see. I'm not seeing any kind of fights or upset people or anything going wrong. Just people standing around, supporting a cause, wanting to get back to work, wanting to get back to normal. There's a lot going on in the world today. People have been scared for a long time, so I can understand them wanting to get back to work. This sign has a good point I've heard before. It says, lay off Whitmer with no pay. And I thought this was interesting and a possible thought. I mean, why don't we take the pay away from these politicians? Why don't we take away some of these guys who say they're telling people not to work? They're saying your job's not essential. So why don't we take away your pay? Why don't we say you're not essential? And maybe they are. I know they're leading a country or a state in this case, and they need to keep working. But if they want to do this, they might have to consider docking their pay or something. I mean, they're going to get criticized because you think about this governor, you think about other leaders like, say, the president, who, by the way, donates his salary every month to a certain charity or something. So he's not making money off of being president. But some of these politicians certainly are. We've seen Democratic politicians become rich in office. Obama came out with millions of dollars. They've gotten book deals. They've done all kinds of stuff related to the being president, and other politicians too. Nancy Pelosi's rich, AOC's making money off Netflix, and that's just a very disgusting thing, especially in this situation where we're seeing the leftists trying to shut everything down, trying to stop people from working and not giving them money, and then at the same time, they're getting totally filthy, stinking rich. Now, I want to go back to Trump for a second because we all know he's a rich man, but remember, he made that money privately before he even got into politics. This guy had $1 billion company. He has hotels across the globe. He ran a TV show on NBC for like a decade, many seasons. He's got a lot of experience, and he's made his money in legitimate endeavors, making things and tangible objects that people can want and use. Watching a TV show gives people entertainment. Making a hotel gives people a place to stay. He's done good work and made his money honestly, while at the same time, liberals are doing it in a crooked way. They're getting backhanded deals because they're supporting someone politically, or they're getting a book deal just because of their name. They're going on Netflix and getting documentary deals just because they're liberals. It's totally a different situation. And well, I think that wraps things up for this Michigan story. A lot of excited people out there wanting to reopen, wanting to get back to work, and you got to respect that, especially considering the low counts of virus and deaths in that state. I think it's very reasonable to consider reopening it, and on the other end, the governor wanting to keep it shut down is kind of questionable. It has to do with politics more than safety, and that's a messed up thing because people are also dying from not being able to work. If they can't make money, they can't feed their families, they can't pay their bills or mortgage, then people are going to suffer from that too. So let's not let the solution be worse than the problem. That's what people are saying now. That's what the Michigan people are feeling now, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Tell me what you guys think about this story and comment all your thoughts below. Thanks for watching today's episode of No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.